Scream 2. What is your favourite horror film? Oh, well, fans of this series would most probably tell the sequel to a flawless blend of meta-horror perfection. Scream 2. Coming out in 1997, Scream 2 took everything that was originally great about Scream, turned up all knobs in this one, and it gets it. Ready the bag of popcorn, dear. We're off in this cutthroat slasher sequel by a mile so sharp. Ghostface's knife. Before we talk about Scream 2, let's quickly recap the first Scream. Directed by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson, the original flipped the horror genre on its head with its clever mix of satire, self-awareness, and brutal kills. It introduced us to Sidney Prescott, the ultimate final girl, and a masked killer who made us all second-guess our landline calls. Now, Scream 2 takes place a year after the murders in Woodsboro. The main character, Sidney Prescott, is played by the phenomenal Neve Campbell. She's trying to move on with her life as a college student, but of course, Ghostface isn't finished with her yet, this time around. The killing spree begins at a movie theatre with the premiere of Stab, a film based on the events of the first movie. Talk about layers of meta. The opening is a masterclass in suspense, humour, and gore. It sets the tone for a sequel that knows exactly how to balance scares and laughs. Let's talk about returning cast. Neve Campbell shines once again as Sidney. She is tougher, smarter, and still haunted by her past. Courteney Cox returns with the cutthroat journalist Gale Weathers, whom we like to hate and love all over again. And then there is David Arquette, who brings a mix of heart and comic relief with him as the lovable Dewey, but not without bringing new additions, which just prove fantastic. Jerry O'Connell as Derek, boyfriend to Sidney, the actor-film student in Timothy Oliphant Mickey, or reportress Laurie Metcalf to Debbie Salt, in a highly dubious interest of following the whole case. What makes Scream 2 so iconic is its commentary on sequels. The characters talk about the rules of horror movie sequels while living in one. Randy, played by Jamie Kennedy, gives one of the best meta speeches as he breaks down how sequels have to up the body count and the gore. Every scene oozes with clever writing, making you question who the killer might be while laughing at the genre's cliches. Okay, heads up. If you haven't seen Scream 2, pause this video, go out to watch it, and come back when you are done still with me. Awesome! Okay, big reveal. The killer's Mickey and Mrs. Loomis, the mother of Billy Loomis of Movie 1. It's this shocking twist that ties the second around to the first. Creepy. Laurie Metcalf's turn as the unhinged Mrs. Loomis is terrifying, and proves that revenge is a dish best served psychotic. Scream 2 isn't just a great sequel. It's one of the best horror sequels ever made. It kept the franchise fresh while respecting what made the original special. Plus, it reminded us that horror movies can be smart without sacrificing the scares. Even today, Scream 2 remains a virtuoso combination of horror and comedy. It marked the way to the longevity of the franchise and ensured that Wes Craven became a genius in the genre. 2 years have passed since the initial series of murders. As Sidney settles into college life, the new series of murders starts when someone puts on the Ghostface costume. 2 years have elapsed since Scream. Sidney Prescott and Randy are trying to get their lives back on track at Windsor College. This is the life until another Ghostface killing spree starts off. Again, with the aid of Dewey and Gale, she must figure out who's behind the killings. But as the body count grows, so does the short list of suspects. 2 years have passed since the horrible tragedies of Woodsboro. Sidney Prescott and Randy Meeks try to return to their daily lives and are both now students at Windsor College. Cotton Weary is free from prison and is now trying to capitalise on his unfortunate time inside. Gale Weathers has written a bestseller, The Woodsboro Murders. which has been turned into the film Stab, starring Tori Spelling as Sydney. As the film's playdate approaches, the cycle of death begins anew. Dewey Riley takes off immediately from Woodsboro to try to protect Sydney, his surrogate sister. But in this sequel to the 1996 horror film, the number of suspects only goes down as the body count slowly goes up. Two Windsor College seniors, Maureen Evans and Phil Stevens, attend a sneak preview of Stab, a film based on the events of the Woodsboro massacre. Briefly exiting the theatre to use the bathroom, Phil is killed by the masked killer, now known as Ghostface. Ghostface sits next to Maureen in Phil's place and stabs her repeatedly, unnoticed by the raucous crowd, leading her to climb up on stage in a cry for help, which the audience mistakes for a publicity stunt until she falls dead. News media, including local journalist Debbie Salt, descend on Windsor College, where Sydney Prescott is a student alongside her roommate, Hallie McDaniel, her new boyfriend Derek Feldman, fellow Woodsboro survivor Randy Meeks, and Derek's best friend, Mickey Altieri. Two other Woodsboro survivors arrive. Police officer Dewey Riley to offer Sydney protection, and reporter Gail Weathers to cover the case. Gail and her new cameraman, Joel Jones, fail in attempting to engineer a showdown between Sydney and Cotton Weary, who is angling for notoriety out of being exonerated for raping and murdering Maureen Prescott, Sydney's mother. Later that night, Sydney and Hallie go to a party being held at the Delta Lambda Zeta sorority house. The killer, Ghostface, murders a student of another nearby sorority, Omega Beta Zeta. As the partygoers go out to view the crime scene of Cece, Ghostface enters the Delta Lambda Zeta, where he attacks Sydney. Derek is wounded by Ghostface, but he escapes before the police arrive. Finally, when Casey's diminutive form, Cece, is realised, Gail hypothesises that the new Ghostface is targeting students bearing the same names as the victims in Woodsboro. Randy hypothesises that the murderer is probably someone Sydney knows, and that the killings are being copied from a movie sequel. Not long after this, Ghostface phones Gail, Dewey, and Randy while they are sitting together on the college campus during daylight hours. Despite their efforts to locate him, Ghostface manages to attack Randy and pulls him into Joel's media van, where he is murdered. Shortly after this, Joel, suspecting that he will be the next victim, flees town. As night falls over the campus, Dewey and Gail go to a building to review tapes of footage shot by Joel, hoping to spot the killer in the vicinity of the previous crime scenes. But Ghostface attacks them, stabbing Dewey. Two officers drive Sydney and Hallie to a safe house, but Ghostface intercepts the car and murders them. In the ensuing battle, Ghostface is knocked unconscious, only to wake up and kills Hallie. Seeking the safety of music coming from the campus theatre, Sydney finds Derek in the auditorium, tied to a cross as part of an earlier fraternity hazing ritual. Ghostface arrives to reveal his identity as Mickey and kills Derek by shooting him dead. Mickey reveals that he plans to kill Sydney and let himself get caught so that he can blame movie violence for the murders. Debbie arrives, holding Gail at gunpoint, and is revealed to be Mickey's accomplice, whom Sydney recognizes as Nancy Loomis, the mother of Woodsboro killer Billy. Nancy betrays Mickey and shoots him, affirming that she only used Mickey to frame him for their killing spree. Mickey shoots his gun and falls, wounding Gail, who falls off stage. Nancy reveals that she is seeking revenge against Sydney for killing Billy, and that she killed Randy in Joel's news van for criticizing Billy. But Sydney points out the hypocrisy of her motives, considering that Nancy's abandonment fueled her son's psychotic tendencies. The pair fight until Cotton appears and holds them at gunpoint. Nancy tries to bribe Cotton into killing Sydney, reminding him that her testimony landed him in jail. But to her amazement, he shoots Nancy instead, trading that for an interview with Sydney and Diane Sawyer. Sydney, Cotton, and recovered Gale gaze upon Nancy's body when Mickey suddenly reappears, but is dispatched by Gale and Sydney. Sydney shoots Nancy in the head to confirm she is dead. By the time the police arrive, it is found that Dewey is alive, and Gale enters the ambulance with him, instead of taking the opportunity to report back to returning Joel. Then Sydney tells the press to direct their questions to Cotton, so she gets out of the attention herself, and also gives a prize to Cotton for helping her. Thanks for watching, horror fans! What's your favourite moment from Scream 2? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into the best and worst of horror cinema. Until next time, remember, never say, "I'll be right back."
But now I see what you teach. I do believe I always should have stayed.